Thank you very much. Dr. Adams, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to strike the last word.
You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I rise today in opposition to House Resolution 45, which will disapprove of waivers and modifications on borrowers' federal student loans. I got to tell you, I do know how difficult it is for young people to get an education and to be able to pay for it. Education is not cheap, and for some, it is out of reach. I have a grandson who will be graduating from Howard this weekend, and fortunately, we were able to pay for him. But as a student myself, when I was in college, I too had to get student loans. But as a former educator, let me just say how ashamed I am and astonished to see my colleagues introduce divisive, misleading, and harmful resolutions. This partisan, all-Republican-led bill, which is punitive, in my opinion, if issued, would end the one-time debt relief and the December payment pause just when students need this relief. The Department of Education would also be prevented from issuing a similar ruling to the Biden administration's one-time debt relief and extension of payment pauses in the future. So let me be clear about this. This barely one-page bill does absolutely nothing to advance, to enrich, or uplift borrowers. Education is the pathway to the future for so many individuals. Under the Biden administration plan, 43 million borrowers would be eligible for student loan relief, and 20 million would be eligible for future forgiveness of their loans. Ensuring that individuals affected by COVID and affected by other situations are not placed in a worse financial position. Within my own district, there are 121,000 estimated eligible borrowers under the Biden student loan relief debt relief plan, and 79,000, almost 80,000 of those borrowers were deemed automatically eligible for relief, which is about 65% of eligible borrowers, and 50,000 of those were fully approved applicants that were sent over to loan servicers for discharge, and that's about 42% of eligible borrowers in my district. I do want to remind colleagues and Ms. Miller, who spoke a moment ago, that more than 7,600 borrowers in his district would be denied relief if this resolution were enacted. So it's going to impact a lot of folks, including those who are pushing this resolution. Tens of thousands of constituents in my district will have the ability to live their lives without the looming effects of student loan debt. And just imagine the millions of borrowers that would be impacted as well. But unfortunately, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle fail to realize the impact that would be made for so many Americans. I think we need to be sensitive about the issue, and while some folks can afford to pay and have done their best to pay, there are folks who need this help. But unfortunately, many of my colleagues fail to realize that this is going to be a tremendous impact, a positive impact on so many Americans. The legislation that they're pushing today moves to rid student aid borrowers in this country of an opportunity to better their financial situations and would improve the quality of their lives. A step forward, borrowers buying that house, for example, or taking that long trip, or starting the family that they wanted to start, starting the business that they wanted to start, and the list goes on. Education is an American right. It's a privilege, and no one should delay their life and livelihood going into debt for it. Some people go into retirement with this debt because of the interest that has accrued over the years. So I look forward to having a conversation with my colleagues that takes up these specific points, but I refuse to give credence to a conversation that will continue to put already at-risk borrowers in financial strain. I urge my colleagues to oppose this resolution. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.